Folks, it's America's horror tape, where we dive into ancient folktales and urban legends. Tonight's story is about La Llorona, an age-old piece of folklore rooted in cultural history, but it includes fictional elements for dramatic effect. This is purely for entertainment purposes, with no intent to harm or unduly frighten anyone. If anything triggers you, please pause and reach out to a helpline. Now dim the lights, and let's roll the tape. October 1st, 2025. Just 2 weeks ago, a lone hiker in the Bosque del Apache, along the muddy veins of the Rio Grande in New Mexico. He'd been out chasing shooting stars for his Instagram reel. You know the type, all filters and hashtags, turning the wild into wallpaper. But that night, the stars weren't the story. He stops, freezes. The camera shakes in his grip as he pans toward the irrigation canal snaking off the river, a black ribbon under the moon. "You hear that?" His voice cracks on the tape, barely above a whisper. The weeping swells. Closer now. Not wind, not an animal. A woman's voice, ancient and broken, rising from the water like steam from hell. Ms. Hios, why did you leave me?" The words twist into Spanish sobs. Then English pleas. "My children, come back." The filmer backs away, lantern swinging wild. Shadows stretch unnaturally long across the reeds. Something splashes wet, heavy, like sodden skirts dragging through the shallows. Claw marks? No, not yet. But he swears he saw them later, raking his own back in the ER mirror. 3 lines, deep as regret. The reel cuts out there, abrupt like the battery died, or something yanked the plug. That clip has racked up 500,000 views already. Comments flooded. "Fake AF. My abuela warned me about this. Heard it last week by El Paso, swear on my life." But you're watching this alone, aren't you? Screen glow, the only light in the room. Heart ticking a little faster now. What if it's not just a reel? What if, right now, outside your window near that puddle from last night's rain? Or the creek down the block, you hear it too. A soft cry on the breeze, calling your name, not yours, but close enough. What if it's her? La Llorona, the weeping woman, the mother who drowned her own in a fit of jealous rage, cursed to wander forever, snatching souls by the water's edge to replace what she lost. They say if you hear her near the Rio Grande, that serpentine border of secrets, stretching 1,900 miles from Colorado's snowmelt to the Gulf's salt, you're already marked. She doesn't just haunt the river. She is the river. Mud in her veins, tears in the current. And this Halloween, 2025, with jack-o'-lanterns grinning from every porch and the air thick with candy wrappers and fog machines, she's louder than ever. The series drops next week, Surviving La Llorona. 8 episodes of real survivors spilling their nightmares. Trailers alone have folks double-locking doors. But legends don't need Netflix. They need blood. Welcome to America's horror tape. I'm your host, the ghost in the grain, unspooling the reels that keep you up at 3 a.m. If this is your first tape, strap in. We're the channel that digs up the dirt on America's shadows, from coast to cursed coast. No fairy tales here, just the raw, unfiltered chill of what lurks in the land of the free and the home of the damned. We've covered the Bunny Man's axe echoes in Virginia woods, the phantom hitchhikers vanishing on Texas blacktop. But tonight, we cross into her territory, the Southwest's eternal specter, the curse that doesn't end with boo. It ends with a splash you can't unhear. Turn down the lights, or don't. But if you're near water, a sink dripping, a bottle sweating on your table, listen close, because she's listening back, and she's hungry. But to understand the curse, to grasp why a single sob can unravel a life, we must go back. Not to last week or last century. No, to the blood-soaked roots, where goddesses wept prophecies of doom, and empires crumbled under the weight of a mother's scream. Roll the tape. Let the shadows play. Part 2, Origins in Aztec Shadows. The year is 1519. Hernán Cortés and his steel-clad horde claw their way into the Valley of Mexico, feathers and gold glinting under a sky that's already bleeding omens. But La Llorona? She was old before the first Spaniard set boot to shore. older than the canals of Xochimilco, older than the floodplains where maize whispered to the gods. Her roots twist back to the Aztecs, the Mexica. As they called themselves, a people who saw the world as a fragile dream, balanced on the edge of jaguar jaws and feathered serpents. Picture it. Tenochtitlan, a floating city on Lake Texcoco. Canals like arteries feeding the heart of an empire. Temples rose like mountains, slick with the blood of sacrifices to keep the sun from falling. And in the shadows of those pyramids, the women wept, not for lost lovers or barren wombs, for the end of worlds. Enter Cihuacotl, serpent woman, the patroness of midwives, mothers, and the bloody art of birth. She wasn't some benevolent cradle rocker. No, Cihuacotl was doom wrapped in flesh, a goddess who wandered the streets at dawn, her cries piercing the mist like obsidian blades. Huey Tilatoni, she'd wail in the codices. A great ruler is born, but it was a prophecy laced with poison. Her tears foretold calamity. Famine, flood, the fall of kings. Mothers invoked her in labor, smearing their faces with ash, begging for mercy from the pain that mirrored her eternal grief. Scholars trace La Llorona's silhouette straight to her, that spectral form gliding by water, white gown trailing like a shroud, voice a hook in the soul. Cihuacotl didn't just mourn. She warned. In Aztec lore, she appeared before the conquest, sobbing through the night markets, her form shifting, now a noblewoman in jade and quetzal, now a crone with serpent scales glinting under torchlight. The priests trembled. The end comes, her cries decreed, echoing the 10 omens that heralded Cortez. Comets streaking like blood, lakes boiling with omens, a comet crying fire across the stars. And when the Spaniards arrived, her wails multiplied, a chorus of the damned as Tenochtitlan burned, its canals choked with corpses. But Cihuacotl was no solitary specter. She had sisters in the pantheon echoes in Coatlicue, the Earth Mother herself, devourer of the dead. Coatlicue, with her skirt of coiled snakes and necklace of hearts and hands, severed, still warm, embodied the raw cycle. Birth from blood, death to dirt. Her children slew her once, in rage at her infidelity with a ball of feathers, only for her severed head to birth the moon and stars. Maternal fury, divine betrayal sound familiar? La Llorona's rage, her drowning hands, they pulse with Coatlicue's veins. A mother's love twisted into annihilation, the earth weeping for her slain young. These weren't bedtime fables. They were theology carved in stone, sung in the Kalmukak schools where nobles learned the cosmos danced on knives. Women, especially, carried the weight, midwives chanting to Cihuacotl during eclipses, when shadows devoured the sun and monsters roamed free. Childbirth was war, survival a miracle bought with screams, and in those screams, the seed of the curse, a goddess who loses her children to fate's cruelty, condemned to eternal search. But the Aztecs fell, their gods splintered under cross and cannon. Dona Marina, the Nahua woman who became Cortez's tongue and bedfellow, interpreter, mother to his mestizo son Martin, the first fruit of the conquest's poison tree. To the Aztecs, she was the ultimate betrayer, selling out her people for a foreign god, her womb birthing the end of an era. Malintzin, they hissed, the traitor, her name a curse in the ruins. But to the Spanish, a necessary Eve, taming the savage Eden. Her story seeps into the soil like groundwater. By the 1550s, whispers in the pulque taverns of New Spain twist her into folklore. A noblewoman, seduced by a Spaniard, who drowns her children in jealous fury when he spurns her for a white bride. Cursed by priests or gods. To wander as a specter, white veil soaked in canal water, wailing for the babes she'll never hold. Cihuacotl's prophecy meets Malinche's shame. The indigenous mother, violated by empire, her grief weaponized into horror. No longer just a goddess's omen, now a woman's sin, amplified by colonial guilt. Priests preached her as cautionary fire. Stray from the church, and you'll join the weeper in purgatory's flood. But the people, they reclaimed her. In corridos and coplas, She became every betrayed wife, every mother watching her children starve under encomienda whips. Oral threads weave her tighter. 16th century friars like Bernardino de Sahagun jot fragments in their ethnographies. La Llorona, already named, haunting the causeways of Mexico City, luring drunkards to watery graves. By the 1700s, she's in broadsides from Puebla, woodcuts showing her skeletal hands clutching phantom infants. 19th century rancheros in Sonora swap tales around campfires. She crosses the deserts now, following the silver trails, her cries mingling with the wind off the Sierra Madre. But the Rio Grande? That's her American baptism. The 1800s, manifest destiny redraws the map in blood. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, 1848, slices the Southwest like a scalpel, half of Mexico to the U.S., the Rio Grande its throbbing seam. Migrants flood north, peons fleeing haciendas, families chasing El Norte's promise. They carry more than bundles. They carry her. In the acequias, irrigation ditches mirroring the great river, she takes root. Texas vaqueros hear her first 1850s tales in San Antonio saloons. A criera by the San Antonio River, but it's the Rio that claims her. El Paso del Norte, the crossing point, becomes her crossroads. Folklore scholars like J. Frank Dobie collect the variants in the 1920s. She's the jilted bride now, or the flood victim's ghost, her wails warning of Rio freshets that swallow whole villages. Migrants whisper protections, silver coins in pockets, prayers to San Antonio as they ford the brackish flow. By the Bracero program, 1940s, she's U.S. soil deep. Chicano workers on the railroads hear her in the arroyos, a border banshee luring the unwary to drown in dreams of home. She crossed not on horseback, but in the stories stitched into serapes. From Aztec codex to colonial confessional, from Malinche's shadow to the migrant's murmur. A goddess diminished, a traitor redeemed in tragedy. But here's the chill. She wasn't born from one scream, but 1,000, echoes of every mother who lost to conquest, to flood, to the endless hunger of borders. And as the Rio Grande runs wider, wilder, choked with silt and secrets in 2025, those screams, they're surfacing, louder, closer. What if the next one is yours? Part 3. The core legend, a mother's madness. We've traced her roots through the codices and conquests, the goddesses and betrayals that fed her form. But legends aren't born in stone tablets or scholarly tomes. They're breathed into life around dying embers, passed from trembling lips to wide-eyed ears. The core of La Llorona, the tale that chills spines from Mexico City to the dusty arroyos of New Mexico, isn't a single thread. It's a noose, tightening with every telling. At its heart, a mother's love, poisoned by the world's cruelties, curdling into something monstrous, something eternal. They call her Maria, or sometimes Luisa, or just La Mujer, the woman. In the standard whisper, the one etched deepest into the folklore, she's a vision of fragile beauty. Raven hair cascading like midnight rivers, skin the warm earth tone of the highlands, eyes that could snare a conquistador's soul. Born to humble Nahua roots in the shadow of the Sierra Madre, she catches the eye of a Spanish hidalgo, a noble with gold-laced boots and a heart as fickle as the monsoon winds. He woos her with silks from Seville and promises of forever, blind to the color of her blood. They wed in secret or live in sin. The tales blur here, as they should, and she bears him children. 2, 3, sometimes more, each a bridge between worlds, mestizo miracles with her fire and his frost. Life is a fragile idol in their hacienda by the water, a canal, a lagoon, the Rio Grande's lazy bend. But the noble's gaze wanders, whispers from the governor's ball. A pale Criolla bride, with dowry lands and unscarred lineage. Jealousy festers in Maria like a fever, not the clean rage of betrayal, but a madness that hollows the soul. One moonless night, as cicadas scream their symphony, he announces his leaving. The children stay, he says, or perhaps he takes them. The variants fork here like lightning cracked earth. In her delirium, Maria sees only loss. Her babies, tainted by his blood, slipping into a world that will devour them as it did her. She gathers them, sleepy, trusting, and walks to the water's edge. "If I can't have you," she hisses to the stars, or to the saints, or to no one at all, "no one will." Her hands, once cradling, now clutch. The splashes come not violent, but inevitable, like rain into a flood. The eldest fights, a tiny gasp bubbling up. The youngest, silent, as if sensing the curse before it's spoken. When it's done, the water stills, and horror crashes in. Maria wades after them, skirts sodden, lungs burning, but the current claims its due. She drags herself to shore, wailing a sound that splits the night, raw as flayed skin. "I, Ms. Hios, what have I done?" The villagers find her at dawn, mad-eyed, clawing mud from her nails. Priests come with crosses and censers, but no absolution waits. God, or the old gods beneath the saints' masks, decrees her fate. Denied heaven's gate, her spirit bound to wander the waterways eternally, searching for her stolen young. Her cries allure now, drawing the lost to join her damnation. Touch the water after dark? Hear her call your name? You're next, snatched into the depths, a proxy for the ones she couldn't save. But oh, the variations. They bloom like nightshade in the cracks of the tail, each branch poisoned by its soil. In central Mexico, she's the ghost of Xochimilco's chinampas, those floating gardens of axolotl-haunted canals. Here, Maria's no noble's paramour. She's a chinera, a flower seller seduced by a tourist's silver tongue. The drowning happens in the narrow waterways, her body never found, just her rebozo tangled in the reeds. Children playing by the trajineras hear her first, "Vengan, Ms. Angelitos," and boats capsize in panic. It's a caution against the city's underbelly, where progress drowns the old ways. Shift west to the southwest New Mexico's high deserts, Arizona's red rock washes, and she claims the acequias, those lifeblood ditches fed by the Rio Grande. No canals of commerce here. It's irrigation for corn and chili, the veins of survival. Maria's story hardens. Perhaps she's a Yaqui woman scorned by a gringo rancher, or a Pueblo matron whose Apache raids stole her babes. The curse twists. She doesn't just weep. She steals, mistaking living children for her own in the moonlight. Ranch kids are warned. La Llorona walks the ditches. Stay inside when the acequia sings. And in the U.S. heartland, the Texas Badlands or California's Imperial Valley, she evolves into something seductive, almost vampiric. No longer the broken mother, but a siren in tattered lace, luring wayward men with phantom beauty. "Come to me, mi amor," she coos from the riverbank, her face shifting from lovely to skeletal mid-embrace. Drowning spike among the drunk and desperate, truckers on lonely highways, berceros dreaming of home. Is it grief's echo, or empire's revenge? The ghost who once drowned her own now drowns the colonizer's sons. Why the Rio Grande, you ask? That serpentine scar, 1,900 miles of silt and secrets, birthing and burying empires? It's no accident. The river's a border, not just land, but lives. Floods have claimed thousands. 1840s freshets swallowing Santa Fe wagon trains. 1930s deluges drowning Dust Bowl migrants. In its muddy churn, real tragedies blur with the spectral children swept in spring swells. Mothers' screams lost to the roar. Folklore clings here like burrs. The Rio as liminal space, where the living cross to the other side, and La Llorona waits, her wails amplified by the current's echo. It's the perfect crucible for her curse, a waterway that mirrors the tears of the displaced, the betrayed, the bereaved. And beneath the horror, symbolism that cuts deeper than any claw. She's grief incarnate, the raw, unraveling ache of loss that devours from within. Betrayal's blade, not just the lovers, but the world's indigenous blood spilled for gold. Mothers watching sons march to foreign wars. Maternal horror at its core. The fear that birthed you could unmake you. Subtly, psychologists nod to the shadows of postpartum shadows, that hormonal storm where love twists to terror, whispers of not enough blooming into delusions of doom. Maria's madness? a metaphor for the invisible war in the mind, the guilt that drowns before the water does. In Chicana art, she's reclaimed, not monster, but mirror, a wail for every woman silenced by machismo, by migration's toll, by the weight of what if. No wonder her cry lingers. It's the sound of every unspoken sorrow, echoing across centuries. But legends aren't just stories, passed like heirlooms to frighten the young. They're warnings etched in blood, inked in the floodplains where the Rio still runs red with rain. Warnings of what brews in the quiet hours when the water calls your name, and you answer. Part 4, Historical Hauntings, 19th to 20th Century Accounts. The 19th century dawns on a fractured continent, Mexico's independence a fragile dream, the U.S. swallowing territories like a snake its tail. La Llorona doesn't fade with the codices. She sharpens, her wails cutting through the ink of the era's first reports. No more goddess-veiled whispers. Now she's newsprint and notary seals, a specter ink-stained by the literate elite. Earliest sightings bleed from colonial fringes into the young republic. 1820s broadsides in Puebla, Mexico, warn of La Mujer que Llora, haunting the Atoyac River after a miller's wife vanishes mid-flood, her shawl found snagged on willows. By 1850, as the Mexican-American War scars the border, she's in El Paso's nascent gazettes. The Rio Grande Republican inks a dispatch. A vaquero swears he saw her on the river's bend, white gown luminous, clutching at his stirrups with hands like drowned roots. "Mis niños!" she shrieked, dragging him half into the current before saints' prayers broke the spell. Drownings followed, 2 p.m. the next dawn, bodies bloated with silt. Coincidence? Or curse confirmed? Cross the line to Texas and the tales rancher rough. 1870s yarns from the King Ranch, where Spanish land grants still echo with Moors ghosts. Old hands around chuckwagon fires spoke of La Llorona del Rio, a jilted mestiza from the Alamo days, her babes lost to Comanche raids but blamed on her wicked heart. Sightings spike with cattle drives. 1892, the San Antonio Express runs a front-page screed after 3 cowboys vanish near the Nueces. Only their hats wash up, embroidered with tiny handprints in mud. She sang like an angel. One survivor babbled from his sickbed. Then her face, bones under the moon. These weren't elite fictions. They were survival lore, scrawled in diaries yellowed by Rio humidity. The 20th century ushers her north with the tide of change and tragedy. Post-World War I, as doughboys return shell-shocked to the borderlands, migrant waves swell. Okies fleeing dust, braceros chasing work under the 1942 program. La Llorona rides the rails with them, her cries sinking to the clack of boxcars. 1920s Texas rancher tales harden into communal memory. J. Frank Dobie's Coronado's Children, 1930, collects variants from Big Bend hands. A foreman hears her by the Pecos, luring his dog into the whirlpool, only for the beast to emerge soaked but alive, barking at empty air. But the real chill? Ties to flesh and blood vanishings. The 1937 Rio Grande flood, the killer current, papers called it, claims 22 souls near Del Rio, including 5 children from a migrant camp. Locals nodded knowingly. La Llorona's harvest. In the 1950s, as Eisenhower's patrols thicken the border, stories link her to wetback crossings gone wrong, bodies fished from the Rio. Mother screams blamed on the ghost, not the guards' guns or the river's rage. Folklore collectors chase her shadow like hounds on a scent. Enter the Lomax's John A. and son Allen, tireless archivists of America's underbelly. In 1933, their Texas expeditions wax cylinder her voice. A Socorro Carandra croons a corrido of La Llorona, guitar plucking like dripping water, lyrics twisting the tale to a Yaqui mother's flood-lost twins. Mis hijos queridos. The recording crackles, voice breaking on the high notes, raw as a fresh grave. The Texas Folklore Society, founded 1909, devours her. John O. West's 1982 essay in T for Texas maps her migrations, from 1920s Panhandle whispers to Dust Bowl dirges where she's the dust devil dame. Her wails stirring sandstorms that bury farms. Americo Paredes, Chicano pioneer, pens her in with his pistol in his hand, 1958, linking her to corrido heroes portrayed women as avengers, not victims. These aren't dusty tomes. They're lifelines, capturing her evolution from colonial caution to cultural cry. But zero in on the Rio, that contested vein, pulsing with the Southwest's heartbeat. Albuquerque's acequias become her haunt. The North Valley ditches, hand-dug since the 1700s, whisper her name in community lore. 1940s tales from the Albuquerque Journal report a war widow hearing cries by the barrelless ditch, like my boy calling from the Pacific, before spotting a sodden figure beckoning from the murk. Modern echoes linger in Facebook groups like ABQ Ghosts and Legends, where elders post grainy Polaroids, a white blur by the Rio Bravo acequia in 1962, time-stamped after a child's fishing mishap. She took my sobrino's toy boat, one thread mourns, and left scratches on the bank. New Mexico's arroyos amplify her, flash floods swallowing barrios, her wails a prelude to the roar. In 1954, post a deadly deluge near Taos. The Santa Fe, New Mexican attributes unnatural cries to her. Quoting a Navajo elder, "The river remembers the drowned ones. What fueled these flares? Not just fog and fancy, but the grind of hardship, economic knives carving deep." The 19th century's border wars left widows weeping real tears. The 20th's Great Depression and World War II rationing turned rivers into graves for the desperate. Migrant families, scraping by on acequia farms, saw every flood as judgment. La Llorona, a scapegoat for poverty's phantoms, her cries voicing the unspoken. Lost jobs, deported kin, children hungry enough to wander too far. In oppression's shadow, hacienda peonage bleeding into sharecropping, indigenous erasure under assimilation. She became protest incarnate. The ultimate betrayed mother, her wail a howl against the machine. Sightings surged with slumps. 1930s Dust Bowl drifts, 1950s Bracero busts. She wasn't haunting. She was haunted, a mirror to the era's cruelties. Her ghost fattened on collective grief. The 20th century tried to bury her in Freudian footnotes, in Hollywood gloss. But ghosts don't stay in graves. The 21st, it dug her up, dust and all, with cameras rolling and cries going viral. Part 5, Modern Eyewitness Terrors, 2024 to 2025 Encounters. The 20th century may have bottled her in ballads and broadsides, but the digital age, it unleashed her. Smartphones capture what eyes once dismissed as madness. Dashcams snag her silhouette mid-stride. Social feeds flood with pleas. This happened to me, last night, by the water. We're not talking grainy Polaroids anymore. These are 4K nightmares, geotagged and time-stamped, racking views in the millions. 2024 to 2025 alone? A spike? Halloween trailers for surviving La Llorona, dropping episodes that blur fiction with real survivor tales. Stirring the pot. X threads erupt. Facebook groups swell with Me Too confessions. But peel back the filters, and the threads bind tight. A sudden chill that bites bone deep. A sulfur reek like hell's exhaust. And the aftermath. Sleepless nights where her whisper loops in your skull, unraveling sanity stitch by stitch. These aren't campfire yarns. They're screams in the scroll. Let's unspool 5 from the last year. If you're near a window, close the blinds. Story 1. The I-10 Whale, Texas Trucker, July 2024. It was a scorcher on Interstate 10. That endless black vein slicing West Texas like a fever scar, Van Horn to Fort Hancock. Mile marker 112, 2:47 a.m., July 17, 2024. Raul Mendoza, 42, grizzled OTR hauler out of El Paso. 18-wheeler loaded with produced crates rumbling east toward Ozona. He'd done this run 1,000 times. Podcasts droning true crime, thermos of cafe con leche going cold. Raul's no believer, grew up on Abuelita's La Llorona warnings. But that's kid stuff, right? Ghosts don't pay the fuel bills. Dashcams rolling standard, insurance black box, infrared glow faint on the windshield. The rigs humming, headlights carving yellow lines from the void. No traffic, just coyotes' eyes glinting roadside. The Rio Grande, a distant murmur 10 miles south. Raul's yawning, fiddling with the CB for chatter when the static spikes. Not weather, a voice. Faint at first, like a kid's radio left on in the sleeper cab. Ms. Hios. A woman's sob, wet and ragged, cutting through the diesel growl. He slams the volume, heart kicking, thinks it's bleed from a border frequency. Smuggler's code. But it swells. Come back. To mama. Spanish laced with English, desperate, pulling at his gut like fishhooks. The air turns, AC blasting full, but frost rims the vents. Raul shivers, checks mirrors. Nothing but taillights fading red. Sulfur hits, then rotten eggs, brimstone thick as truck stop chili gone bad. His eyes water. The dashcam's mic picks it up, timestamp glitching, 2:52 a.m. K. Carajo? He mutters, voice tinny on the recording later uploaded to a trucking forum. The rig lurches, no pothole, just phantom hands on the wheel. He floors it 75 to 85, wind howling like judgment. In the side mirror, a blur, white streak by the shoulder, a woman in tatters, arms outstretched, face moon pale but hollow-cheeked, mouth yawning black. She's running faster than the truck, skirts whipping like flags in a gale. The cry peaks, Ms. Niños, give them back. Raul crosses himself, blasts La Santa Muerte on the stereo, old-school ranchera to drown her out. The figure lunges, not at the cab, but the trailer, metal groans, crates shifting like bodies in a wreck. Sulfur chokes the cab. His knuckles whiten on the wheel, vision blurring to tears not his own. Flash of memory. His own Hija, lost to leukemia at 5, her tiny hand slipping from his at the hospital. Not you, he gasps, swerving onto the rumble strip. Gravel sprays, the cry fractures into static. By the next rest stop, dawn's breaking bloody. Cab empty, no scratches, but the dashcam, it caught her. A spectral form crossing the median, vanishing into scrub. 12 seconds of hell, viewed 2.3 million times on TikTok before Raul yanked it down. He quit the road a week later, holed up in a Juarez motel, jumping at faucets. Therapy? It's her echo in my head, he told a podcaster last month. Smells like death, feels like drowning dry. Story 2. The Durango Ranch Reel anonymous tip, December 2024. Up in the pine-choked Sierras of Durango, Mexico. But her reach crosses borders like mist. A sprawling cattle ranch off Highway 40, December 13, 2024. The anonymous tip drops into an Instagram DM. Vi esto anoche. No duermo. No Myers solo. Grainy phone footage, 47 seconds. Shaky night vision from a Ring cam mounted on a weathered adobe fence. Sender, Ranchero Viejo 45. No profile pic. Account ghosts after 24 hours. Posted to at the Scarecast's Reel. It explodes. 1.2 million views. Comments a war zone of fake CGI versus Mi Primo La Vio igual N22. The vid starts mundane. 11:14 p.m. Full moon silvering the corral. Horses nickering uneasy. Wind rustles oak pines. A distant dog barks frantic. Then the chill temp drops 15 degrees on the cam sensor. Frost blooming on the lens. Sulfur wafts implied. The horse's rear, nostrils flaring black. A sob cracks the audio low. Maternal, Ms. Angelitos, Vengan. Building to a keen that rattles the fence posts. From the arroyo beyond, a dry riverbed fed by Rio tributaries, she rises. Not walks. Emerges, waterless, skirts dripping phantom mud, gown translucent under moonlight, face veiled at first, then whipping back. Hollow sockets, jaw unhinged, teeth like river stones. She glides to the fence, hands elongated, claw-tipped, scraping wood with a sound like bones on chalk. Dame, Los Tuyos. She hisses, voice dual-tracked. Spanish sob over English plea. The horses bolt, one snapping a rail. Cam shakes wind, or her touch. A twist hits at 0:32. The poster's X thread, scraped before deletion, claims a follow-up. Después del video encontré huellas. No humanas. Why mi sobrino desaparecido. Dice que lo lamo por nombre. Kid, 8. vanished from his bunk, found at dawn by the arroyo unharmed, but babbling Mama Blanca lo quería. Sulfur lingered on his PJs. He wakes screaming her name still. The reel cuts as she presses face to lens, eyes black voids pulling light. Uploaded stateside, it hits Texas feeds, linking to Rio crossings. She's migrating with us. One commenter writes, the aftermath? Poster vanishes. Ranch listed for sale. Family emergency. Chills follow viewers. Reports of cold drafts. Eggy smells in comments. One user. Watched at 3 a.m. Heard tapping on my window. Won't sleep again. Story 3. The Ditch Reunion Albuquerque Family. June 2025. Albuquerque's North Valley. Barrelless ditch. That ancient acequia snaking like a serpent through cottonwoods. Fed by the Rio Grande's lifeblood. June 15, 2025. The Garcia family reunion 50 strong, under rented pavilions by Rio Bravo and Coors. Tio Manny's grilling carne asada. Prima's chase kids with water guns. It's Abuelita's 80th. Stories of old haunts swapped over Micheladas. But the ditch? It's whispered lore here. 2019 Facebook posts from ABQ Memories. Group warned of her whale by that bend. Post-Halloween run where joggers swore they saw white skirts in the reeds. La Llorona de la Zanja, they called her then. Fast forward 6 years. Same spot, same sunset bleeding orange into the water. Little Sofia, 5, tugs her mama's hem. Quiero ver los petitos. They wander the bank, reeds whispering. Chill drops sudden summer swelter to autumn bite. Mama Rosa smells it. Sulfur, sharp as struck matches. Vuelve adentro, she hisses, but Sophia's transfixed. A cry ripples up. Child's giggle? No, woman's lament. Ms. Beebe's? No me Dejan, echoing off the ditch walls, wet and close. Rosa's phone, filming the ducks for TikTok, catches it. Audio spikes, then visual glitch, a silhouette in white, knee-deep in murk, arms cradling air. Face turns. Not monstrous, but sorrow-carved, eyes pleading. Sophia, ven mi chiquita. The girl steps forward, mesmerized. Rosa yanks her back, nails drawing blood. Panic erupts, Tios rushing, lanterns swinging. The figure wades closer, water parting unnatural, gown blooming ink black. Sulfur thickens. Rosa gags, vision swimming with flashes. Her own miscarriage, years buried. Sophia whimpers. Mama Blanca dice que soy suya. The cry builds, plural now. Like lost choir, heartbeat sinking to Rosa's, thundering in her ears. A primo tackles the bank, splashing holy water from a flask. The form recoils, dissolving to mist. Family hauls Sophia away. Reunion ends in prayers, not piñata. FB group lights up next day. 2019 all over again. But this time, my niece. Sophia's aftermath? Night terrors sketching white ladies by the hundreds. Rosa quits her ditchside job, therapy bills piling. It's not just cold, she posted. It's her grief freezing you from inside. Story 4. The Border Lure, California Patrol, February 2025. San Diego sector, Tijuana River estuary. That fetid no man's land where the border fence rusts into the surf. February 3, 2025. CBP agent Elena Vasquez. Night shift on ATV patrol. Foam of waves lapping chain link. It's routine. Ponga boats ghosting migrants. Coyotes whispers on scanners. But 1:23 a.m., her radio fritzes. Static to sob. Ayuda. Ms. Hiosisia Hagaran. Elena freezes. Thinks it's a distress call. Drowned in the tide. Sulfur wafts on the brine impossible over ocean rot. She crests a dune. Shadow figure by the estuary mouth. Hunched over washing invisible linens. White rags. Or skin. Cold slams her breath fogging in 60-degree air. The lure hits. Not scream, but coo. Elena. Ven. No tengas mito. Her name? Radio log later confirms no breach. Ex-post from a semantic scan blows up. Shadow lured me at border La Llorona? CA patrol nightmare. Elena draws her sidearm, beam catching. Nothing? Just silhouette, elongated, hands beckoning like a siren's wave. Heartbeat roars in her ears. Flashbacks assault. Her brothers drowning off Imperial Beach. 09. Sulfur burns her throat. ATV stalls, lights strobing. The shadow lunges, not attack, but embrace. Claws graze her vest, cold leeching life. Anita me. Reemplaza lo perdido. Backup rolls up, floodlights blast. Shadow shreds to smoke. Elena's log. Entity engaged. Possible hallucinogen exposure. But the X-thread? Witnesses from a migrant boat. Saw the lady pull the agent. White dress, black eyes. Aftermath. Elena's on leave, PTSD meds blurring the edges. Feels her in the salt air. She DM'd a podcaster. Whispers my secrets. Cold that won't thaw. Story 5. The Patio Phantom. Arizona couple. October 2025. Mesa, Arizona, suburban sprawl hugging the Salt River Channel. October 10th, 2025. Jake and Mia Torres, married 5 years. Backyard patio barbecue winding down. Fire pit crackles. String lights sway. Jake scrolling X. Mia sips wine. Chill creeps, AC off, but gooseflesh rises. Sulfur tickles the grill smoke. Then the silhouette. By the chain link fence under mesquite shade. A woman in white, not standing, weeping, shoulders heaving, silent at first. X thread drops live at Jake Torres AZ. 9:47 p.m. WTF on patio? Wife sees it too. Hashtag Llorona. Vid attached. Phone pan. Figure unmoving but shifting. Face veiled. But sobs build. Ms. Amores. Perdidos. Heartbeat sinks. Their dog bolts indoors, whining. Mia drops her glass. She knows us, Jake. Says our baby's name. Miscarriage last spring, unspoken ghost. Cold pins them. Sulfur chokes the embers. Silhouette glides closer. Hands pressing fence. Fingers through links. Damelo. Tilo de Vuelvo. Jake grabs salt shaker. Flings it arc white. Figure recoils hissing. Thread explodes. Replies. Run. Pray. They barricade inside. By dawn, gone. But the psych toll? Mia's visions in mirrors. Jake jumps at drips. Her grief stuck. He tweeted October 12th. Smells like failure. Cold like empty womb. Thread hits 50K views. Linking to border lore. Threads weave the terror. That Arctic bite sucking warmth from veins. Sulfur sting marking her path like brimstone breadcrumbs. And the mind? Fractured grief not yours, but hers. Burrowing deep, turning sleep to screams. These aren't hoaxes doctored for likes. They're harbingers, whispers from the water, calling louder in 2025's flood of screens. What if the next ping is her? Part 6. The Curse's Cultural Clause. She's no longer chained to the riverbank, wailing unseen. Llorona's clawed into the culture, from silver screens to street art, podcasts to protest chants. A curse commodified, but never caged. Her media grip? Ironclad. 2019's The Curse of Llorona. James Wan's Conjuring spin-off grossed $123 million on her drowned sobs. Linda Cardellini's mom battling the bruja in East LA shadows. Critics called it trope Y. Fans devoured the chills. But 2025? Surviving Llorona drops like a bombshell. Harrow House Films 3-episode series. Free on YouTube from May 15th. Blending docu horror with survivor interviews. A trucker by the Rio. A kid in the Aztec. Episode 1. The Cry by the River. Hit 3.5 million views. Trailers tease EVPs of her whale. Blurring real with real. Prime Video snaps Seasons 2. Tubi streams it ad nauseum. She's viral fodder now. TikToks lip-syncing her cries. AR filters turning selfie spectral. Songs? She's melody's muse. Shavila Vargas, the ranchera queen, immortalized her in 1961's La Llorona. Voice like smoked tequila, crooning betrayal's ache. Ay, de mi Llorona, Llorona de azul celeste. Raw, queer-coded grief that outsold the charts. modern flips. Bad Bunny's trap twist in Un Verano Sin Ti 2022. Her wail sampled over reggaeton beats 1 billion streams. Kids chanting, "I, Ms. Hios," at Coachella. Or Natalia Lafourcade's folk fusion cover. 2024 Grammy nod. Layering mariachi horns with electronic sobs. She's soundtrack to the diaspora, played at quinceañeras as caution, blasted in lowriders as defiance. But culture's not just cash-in, it's reclamation. Chicana feminists flipped the script. From villain the Mad Madre, Malinche's echo, to icon of grief's fury, resilience's roar. Gloria Anzaldua's Borderlands / La Frontera 1987 births her anew. La Llorona has become my patron saint. She who watches over the mestiza, no longer damned. She's the bruja owning her power, tears as tidal waves against patriarchy's dams. Alma Lopez's Digital Saints, 2001's Cyber Virgin scandal, but her Llorona prince? Bold, blue-skinned, wings of canal weeds, staring down the colonizer. Exhibited in LA's Mocha, 2023. Our Lady of Controversy series sells out. Murals tagging barrios from East LA to Chicago. Street artists like Shepherd Ferry Riff. 2024 wheat pastes of her veiled in barbed wire. Caption, "Weep no more, rise." She's queer now too, trans poets in this bridge called My Back. Rewritten 2025 edition. Cast her as gender's ghost, mourning lost selves. From traitor to talisman. Chicana Lit circles her. Cherry Moragas plays stage her as eco-warrior, drowning polluters in the Rio's revenge. Pop culture? She's Halloween's queen. 2025 events pulse her pulse. Boulder's La Llorona, Arts in the Open, immersive 2-mile haunt through Chautauqua Park till October 26th. Actors in white gliding meadows. Sobs via hidden speakers. Podcasts devour her. Murder Made Fiction's September series dissects adaptations. From 1933's Mexican La Llorona, sound horror pioneer, to Juan's Curse, calling her bad adaptation, great time. So Supernatural's April EP, Legend, La Llorona, folklore deep dive with survivor calls. Buzz builds for adaptations. HBO's Echoes of the Weeper pilot, Chicana led, greenlit post-surviving. A Netflix animated short, Llorona as border guardian. Dia de Muertos altars glow with her effigies, marigolds framing porcelain dolls. Ofrenda's whispering, "Rest, sister." Why does she endure? Clawing deeper with every era. She's mirror to the marrow. Immigration's trauma, that endless ford across the Rio of families torn at checkpoints. Niños lost to deserts or detention. 2024 stats. 500 plus migrant deaths at the border, her wail in the headlines. She's the mother separated, the ghost of stolen futures, reclaimed in art as resilience, in media as warning. Not monster, but us, weeping for what's drowned, raging to rise. In 2025's flood of fear, borders barbed, screens screaming her cry. It's our chorus. Part 7. Science versus Specter. Is she real? We've waded through her whispers, from Aztec omens to viral reels. Her cry a constant under the southwest skin. But is La Llorona real? Or just the mind's murky reflection in the Rio's flow? Science steps in here, scalpels out, slicing legend from lunacy. Skeptics, those ghostbusters in white coats, point to the brain's betrayal. Mass hysteria and infrasound, the invisible puppeteer of phantoms. Picture a group by the acequia, stories swapping like kindling. One shivers at a splash. Eyes dart, breaths sink. Suggestion spreads like fever, the mad gasser effect, where panic feeds on itself, birthing shared delusions. Folklore hotspots like Albuquerque ditches, prime petri dishes, economic stress, cultural priming, and the river's roar priming the pump for collective chills. But the real maestro? Infrasound, those sub-20 Hz waves, too low for ears but high drama for nerves. Rivers are infrasound factories. Underground flows churning caverns, wind whipping canyons. Even the Rio's current humming through silt like a subterranean organ. Studies nail it. Vic Tandy's 1998 haunt experiment rigged a lab with 19 Hz tones. Subjects reported anxiety spikes, peripheral ghosts, even visual warps as eyeballs vibrated like jelly. Joe Banks' Tiger fan were? Same dread, no spooks. Near water? Amplified waves crash low-frequency booms, fogging focus, stirring sorrow from the subconscious. La Llorona's weeps? Maybe just the river's bassline, tricking your amygdala into apocalypse mode. Chills, sobs in the static, shadows that slink when you blink. Rational, right? No curse, just physics punking the pious. But believers? They don't buy the buzzsaw dismissal. They counter with cold stats and colder evidence. Take the Rio Grande. That border beast claimed at least 1,107 lives from 2017 to 2023. Per exhaustive OSINT digs migrants mid-crossing, kids in flash floods, numbers dwarfing official tallies. Peaked in 2022 with hundreds, dipped in 23, but 2024? Rising again, data scraps showing dozens in the first half alone, like the August Eagle Pass trio. A woman and 2 toddlers, autopsied as pure drowning, no barriers breached. Unexplained? Hell yes, bodies washing up miles downstream, untouched by currents that should have scattered M. Witnesses swear cries preceded the swells. Ms. Hios echoing before the roar. Coincidence? Or her harvest call? Then the EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, those spectral snippets snagged on recorders. Believers hoard them like relics. BuzzFeed unsolved's La Llorona hunt caught, whispers post-session. More than 1 or 2 voices pleading in the void. YouTube dives to her tomb in Mexico, reel faint sobs on loop. A 2025 Columbia clip nails a treetop whale, analyzed frame by frame as unmanipulated. Paranormal crews like found TV's 2013 Durango stakeout, 17 minutes of moans on night vision. No wind, no wildlife. Skeptics cry pareidolia, brains patterning noise into names, but play it backward. Her curse in reverse. Join me. Chills or chills. You decide. And the toll is not abstract. Survivors. Those who brushed her brimstone unravel slow. X threads spill the scars. One trucker, post-dashcam dread, ghosts his shifts with sulfur flashbacks. Therapy dredging, cold that clings like guilt. A border agent's leave? PTSD meds muting the lure in his dreams. Whispers looping like bad code. Couples trade tales of patio phantoms triggering miscarriage grief. Sessions unpacking her sorrow stuck in my bones. Anxiety amped, hypervigilance scanning every shadow. Not hysteria's hangover, deeper, like she's etched her ache into your wiring. Repression dulls the prefrontal, amps the fear factory. One post nails it. Her cry? It's the echo of what we bury, rising wet and relentless. Science explains the wind, the waves, the wiring glitches in our skulls. It charts the hum that haunts the hollows, turns tumbleweeds to terrors. But it doesn't touch the whisper in your ear, that name on the breeze, tailored to your buried blues. The chill that lingers long after the data fades. Is she real? Or are we all just weeping women, waiting for the water to rise? As the Rio runs red with secrets, silt and sorrow churning under October moons. Part 8, Eternal Warning. Her tale doesn't end in analysis or archives. It lingers in the lore, those old protections, passed like heirlooms against the night. Ward her off, they say, with faith's firm hand. Clutch a rosary, beads blessed under saint's gaze. Our Lady of Guadalupe her counter. Guadalupe's serenity drowning the din salt the thresholds. A circle round the cribs and camps, pure as tears unwept. It burns her sodden steps. Avoid the water after dusk. No lingering by ditches or deltas. No answering the acequia's song. Call on San Antonio for lost things, including souls, or whisper, Vite, Llorona, with iron in your voice, a lost object clutched tight. Some swear garlic braids on doors, or mirrors facing the flow, reflect her back to the void. It's folk armor, woven from centuries. Aztec ash on foreheads, Spanish exorcisms laced with Nahuatl chants. Not foolproof, nothing tames a tide, but it steals the spirit, turns terror to testimony. And you've journeyed her haunts with us tonight, from codex cries to dashcam dreads. But the tape doesn't spool solo. Hit the comments. Spill your shivers. Heard her by the bayou? Salt line saved your skin? Tag a thread. Drop a dashcam. My Llorona brush, 3 a.m. edition. We read 'em all, weave the worthy into the next reel. Your story is the spark that keeps the shadows honest. Smash that subscribe red button like a ward stone for more unburied tapes. Bunnyman's Axe Encore, Route 66 Vanishings Reloaded. Super Grok tier, early drops, ad-free chills, your name in the credits. Join the coven, 500k strong, trading whispers worldwide. Bell on notifications as your night watch. America's horror tape, where legends live, unedited and unchained. Tie it back to the vein that birthed her. The Rio Grande, that living legend, 1,900 miles of mud and memory, from San Luis Peaks to Gulf's greedy maw. It's no dead divider. It's pulse and prophecy, carrying Aztec echoes in every eddy, Malinche's murmur in the meanders. Floods feed her fury, migrations her melody, a river that remembers the drowned, the displaced, the daughters denied. In 2025's surge, barriers barbed, boats bobbing desperate, her wails the undertow, pulling politics to the profound. She's the border's banshee, the mother's unmuted moan. Cross her at your peril, but listen, she might just map the mercy we lack.